Number one, Karl Hoffman is a student of ours from Northern California. Originally, you grew up in South Africa, right?
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah. And you moved to the States in Northern California, and you actually have been learning to trade for a couple years now, I think.
It's about 2 years. Yeah, I started on this journey with Legacy about 2 years ago. But a little known secret is I actually started looking at this in South Africa and just found the whole thing too difficult because of the
Hmm.
data rates and all of those type of elements at that point in time. So I gave up.
I see.
I was about 19, 20 years old.
So here's my 5 questions for you, Karl. Number one, why did you get into trading?
I've always had a great interest in it. I've always wanted to understand the financial markets, and I also believe that everybody needs to manage their own money, and I wanted to learn how to do that and eliminate the risk, and have myself define exactly where I'm going to go and manage my own destiny at the end of the day. And I think trading is the way to do that.
You know, I've got a little trick I do here. It's called 5 questions, but there's always the follow-up questions, which I don't count. So you say you always had an interest in it. When do you first remember hearing about the stock market? Were you a young man? I mean, what does that mean?
What does that mean? I can go probably back to when I was a very young kid, actually, around 6 or 7 years old. It's something my grandfather always did. He managed his own financial destiny and retired a very, very wealthy man at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And he was always investing in companies, stocks in South Africa at the time, and on the Johannesburg Stock Exchange, and doing really well out of it.
You know, the principles of investing and building wealth and, you know, putting your family in a better position for a legacy, they haven't changed in thousands of years. They're not changing today. You know, education and mindset, but also learning how to buy and invest in the right kind of product. That's really cool. Grandpa taught you. You know, where I grew up, nobody really bought and sold stocks, right? I grew up in coal country. So I didn't really think about the stock market much as a kid. I started thinking about it more when I got into college and started, you know, seeing different ways people did stuff. But very cool, very cool. What is your trading edge?
I think it's my ability to learn and self-introspect and consistently adapt to new ways of thinking and constantly challenge myself if I'm doing the right thing or the wrong thing. And so, for example, I'm a great believer in making mistakes, but learn from that mistake, adjust from it, and then always come back. And because things are going to happen, you are going to lose. And I don't believe also I can know everything about the market. It's impossible to know everything that's out there. So you almost have to place trust in your knowledge at the end of the day and know that, for example, one of the topics today around back testing is extremely important because it gets that confidence in the system. And once you have it, I think then you can actually trade properly and get there.
I agree with everything you just said, and probably not just in trading, but in life. If you have the ability to think critically and to evolve as new information and new data is presented to you, you're going to find success in a lot of different areas. I think those are important things in your job, in your career, in this world we live in. I love that answer. You know, it's a complex answer, by the way, because critical thinking is not something that's trained all that often. And being able to be data driven so that you can get to the point where you're making those decisions. It's one of the reasons why that backtesting conversation you and I had is so important. And too many traders don't backtest, Karl. I don't know if it's just not trained or taught, or maybe it's just complex. I'm not sure why. Why do you think that is?
Okay, I can tell you why I personally didn't do it. And I don't know if this is true for other people. I'm naturally quite an impatient person. I just want to get out there and do stuff. Okay, so for example, some real examples, not with trading. So I was thinking the other day, and about 10, 50 years ago, how can I improve my snowboarding? And so what I did is I really broke it down to its basic elements, which you can't break down any further, because I have a couple of beliefs. Number one is life is fractal. So life builds on top of each other. And what I used to do is get really frustrated with myself and just want to go and do stuff. So for example, if you take a book, okay, and you see a concept in there, and I'll get back, you see a concept, you want to go ahead and read about that concept instead of just leaving it and then go and learn about it later. So with snowboarding, I broke everything down to its basic principles and then started rebuilding it back up again. So I had the basic patterns in place, and once I had the basic patterns in place, it gave me permission to get to the next level again and the next level again. And I consistently do that in my trading. So for example, I've been trading for 2 years. My success has been variable. This year's been a bit better, but what I do now is I break everything down And I think people try and shortcut that system, and you can't shortcut thinking, critical thinking. And if you believe life is fractal, shortcutting and going to the big macro picture before you've got the basic foundations in place is flawed. So I think why people don't backtest and why I didn't backtest properly as well is because I tried to think I'm cleverer than the system and shortcut the system, and I'll try to do sports and it never works. It's never worked for me.
That's right. Well, first of all, I think it's really a smart answer, and it's the right answer. You have to actually learn this stuff. There are no shortcuts, right? I mean, for true comprehension and true confidence, you have to know why your system is working the way it is. I'll give you even the simplest example from our conversation today. Why you buy, why you sell, and where you set a stop loss and target on just a basic stock trade. Mm-hmm. I find that really advanced traders who've gone through 6 or 8 classes maybe, and they've studied for years, they could not answer that with data, right? And I think it's because we always want to get to that next thing faster, quicker, so that we can get the payout, right? And it's natural, it's a human thing. But you get to a point in your evolution as a trader where you're like, okay, I've got to perfect the little things. Fundamentals matter. There's no doubt about it. I love the answer. What is your daily routine?
My daily routine. Okay, so during the week, so I'm doing a couple of things right now. So let me just take a step back. Why I do this? I love exercise. I love having fun. I love the intellectual stimulation of managing the markets, and I'm a vice president also at a big software company, so I've got to balance all of these things out. And I'm currently training for an Ironman, half Ironman again. So typically I'm out of bed at 5 in the morning. I hit the gym for probably an hour and a half. Then listen to a book or Bloomberg on the way to work, so that's productive. Get to work at around 7:30. Then either balance it out. I have calls with Europe in the morning, or if I don't have calls, then it's all about let's have a look at what's going in the stock market, read the Wall Street Journal, maybe pick up a book like Trade Your Way to Financial Freedom and study that in the morning before work starts. Or I also have to do a lot of study for work, so try and do some of that in the morning. 9 o'clock, it starts. And then normally I can't be engaged with the markets. At sometimes I can, and then when I can, I am. Just going to have a look and see what's going on. I also read the Investors Business Daily, by the way, every single morning. And the one thing I did forget is I look at the entire stock market every morning, look at the futures just to see what's happening. Should I be doing any hedges? Then I let that go during the day. And then just at lunchtime, I have a quick look at the markets to see if there's any adjustments or changes I need to do if I do have the time. And continue working until 6:30 in the evening. And then I spend about 45 minutes on the stock market afterwards as well. So I relook at all the commodities, what's happening, my positions, adjust stops. And I actually produce myself a full stock market report every day of what's going in the news, the economic indicators, what's happening with things like oil, the psychologicals that you guys predict. And then get home at about 7:30, have dinner, in bed by 9, and rinse and repeat. And then typically on the weekends, on a Saturday and Sunday, I spend 2 hours in the mornings, 2 to 3 hours on the stock market. And then I spend anything up to 4.5 hours training every day. And then in the afternoons, typically read the newspapers, or when the sun comes up, summer's back, I'm out kite surfing probably every single afternoon on the weekends as well.
You're a rock star, Karl. I love it.
Insane.
Oh, man. Well, first of all, I hope you do at least every once in a while take a day off, right?
Not really.
Nah, you don't seem like the type. I'll tell you, I love the daily routine. It reminded me when you were talking about it, Ben Franklin had a very similar routine. Even back in the 1700s. In fact, is famously out there all over the internet. You should look it up, Ben Franklin's daily routine. And he has times of day where he works, where he analyzes his investments, where he reads, where he exercises, where he has social interaction, listens to music, reads books, all that kind of stuff. And he broke it down hour by hour by hour throughout the entire day. I'm a structured guy that way. I'm a morning person as well. So I think you and I share that. I prefer to get up with the market and study it in the morning and get ready for my day, because the cash open in the U.S. is a critical point to have your stuff running. But I do love what you said. By 9 o'clock, you shut it off and you focus on your job. because you're still working. It's not like this is your full-time thing in the stock market. So you have to have it built into where it fits into your life, not the other way around. Very awesome. Awesome routine. Number 4, what are your trading goals?
So number one is really to pick up the skills that I need to be successful in the market. And when I talk about being successful in the market, the metric that I would use is can I supplement my monthly cash flow, and add on to that right now. Look, I love my work, I love my job, so I think it's got to be balanced between the two of them. And up until a point when the investing income supplements my income to a reasonable level, then consider retirement. I think the main thing about really trading for me is not so much to replace a job, because I do love what I do in technology. It's there really to start building a legacy for me and give me more of the freedom, because I love doing sports, I love being out there, and hopefully one day it can give me the freedom to do more of that, and then maybe scale back on the job a bit and go and enjoy life a bit more and go mountain bike, kite surf, and do more half Ironmans and all that type of stuff, and then leave a legacy. And we've always had this vision, my wife and I, of taking kids and coaching them in the real aspects of life. So not only financial, but how do you present? How do you coach people to get into the right place in life? How do they do the basics correct? Because I don't believe those things are actually taught anywhere in schools, or I was never taught them, and I still don't see them being taught. So take kids from underprivileged community, pay for them, let's say a week, you go take them to Hawaii or something like that, and then go and coach them for a week and then put them back into the system, and hopefully they've learned something from you, and you incorporated some cool sports. So maybe go kite surfing, because I think activities like kite surfing, mountain biking, extremely complex and really test the mind at the same time, and form a different dimension of thinking than just the financial or the trading aspect. So we want to build that sort of legacy behind us as well.
All right, that's a beautiful answer. I mean, everybody has their vision, and I would challenge and encourage everybody out there to identify how you can give back. I mean, to community, to society, whatever it might be. And it's not even just about money. I mean, you don't always, it's the energy, it's the time, it's the knowledge, it's the other things that are just as valuable as the cash that, and whatever it might be. I love your answer. I think that's really inspiring. Last one. What advice would you give a brand new trader?
Keep it simple.
That's right.
And forget all those damn indicators that are out there.
Hey, I'll tell you, that's great advice. Don't use a tool if you don't know what it's for. I can't count the number of times I've had a conversation with a trader where they've got like 12 indicators on their chart. They've got OBV and, RSI and MACD and stochastic and all this other stuff. And then and it looks great. But I ask them, well, why do you have it? And they may not be able to answer. Or where are you going to buy? And they can't answer that simple thing. The simplicity of a rule you should understand it, right? I love that answer. Keep it simple. Are there areas where you could have kept it simpler that you did not? Is that with the indicators or anything else?
Number one is I didn't really understand any of the indicators. I didn't understand the mathematics behind them. Okay, I think if there are 3 things that I would suggest a trader does is just shut down the laptop, shut down the computer, forget about all of that. Okay, and if I had to go back, I would study probably about 2 or 3 books. I think the number one I would do, and I'd read them about 2 or 3 times each before I even got started to understand the concepts. So the one is this book here, Trade Your Way to Financial Freedom. I would say it's an awesome book
as well. I love that book. Yep.
The second one I would say, because I think gives you some amazing insight into how to do analysis on multiple time frames, is that book. Okay.
Tyler recommended that book.
I love it.
Coach Tyler, I've never read it. Yeah.
It's a fantastic book because it gets you into multiple time frame analysis and the way to think. The other book I would suggest is it's a bit of a fun read as well, and you'll start learning a lot. I felt this is what probably changed a lot of the way I thought, was The Way of the Turtle. And the reason I like it is because he talks a lot about the things that are real, and brings some of the concepts in. Whether he traded or not is another story. And then Noah's favorite as well. You got that book there as well, I see.
I have The Way of the Turtle. Yeah.
Have you got that one?
Not well. I do have a copy of that. Not in this office though. Not on this bookshelf. But I do have a copy of that. One of my favorite things about that Japanese candlestick analysis is the history he teaches in there, and just it's a really cool read. This one, all of them are great. I have not read the technical analysis one. I will. What I love about Curtis' Facebook as well, and by the way, I think there's another bit of advice we're giving brand new traders, and that's study a lot. You know, train your brain, read a lot, do a lot of, webinars or whatever it might be, to where you're around other traders and you're actually having conversations about the data or how to approach it. Curtis Faith, the way he approaches back testing and the way he approaches even just creating a system, there's some really, really great takeaways in this book. So I love that one as well. These are all strong recommendations. Yeah.
I would say that's where I started questioning a lot of my systems, was when I read this book, is what are the back testing principles. I never understood what a Monte Carlo simulation is and why it's relevant. Okay. And really how he back tests all the various different SMA systems, the expectancies, and that really, and then about 2 pages of rules, the 2 or 3 pages of rules at the end for what the turtle traders do. Mm-hmm. The one thing that sticks with me as well is, why do most people fail at trading? Is because they don't stick to the rules that they've defined.
That's right.
That's what happens to me.
Well, and the father of the turtle traders, he even once said, Richard Dennis, I could print my rules in the newspaper. It's not like they're not magic. It's just most people wouldn't follow them. Right? The emotions get involved or whatever it is. And I think one of the reasons why people don't follow other people's rules is because they didn't develop them or design them through data. It goes back to our conversation we were having earlier, Karl, which prompted this interview. If you'll backtest enough to where you have enough information to clarify why you do what you do in a trading strategy, then you'll confidently be able to take those decisions in the real market, in the real time, when the money's going up and down, because okay, I know what a drawdown looks like in my business. I know what the expectancy is. I know what my overall, win-loss ratio should be, and your emotions don't get pulled in as much. Yeah. I love this, my friend. Hey, great job, Karl. And what will happen here is people are now going to want to ask you questions. And I know that you're in the clubhouse. I actually recently made you a moderator, and you're trying to do some pretty good things helping other people out there. I appreciate you giving back in that way, Karl. No,
you're welcome. Let's get the Bay Area community set up. But the last thing I would say is, my biggest learning was, I read books on Cancelam trading, on covered call trading, on Bollinger Bands, and nobody tells you how to position size.
They don't tell you how much to put in, do they?
Focusing on that.
Yeah.
And the biggest problem with Cancelam, they say, well, allocate so much cash to the strategy. What is so much cash? How much is so much cash? Ask that question, and you will be successful.
Portfolio design, my friend. All right, Karl, great job. We will be back with another interview next week.